Windrose's default settings will make you question your entire setup. 5 minutes from now, it'll look like a completely different game. Let me show you how. Hey guys, welcome back to GeekJ, where we make tech, tutorials and gaming simpler and better. In this video, we are optimizing Windrose, the survival builder that just dropped in early access on Steam a few days ago. It's gotten really popular and for good reason, but the default visual experience, not that great. And since we're rocking RDNA 2 hardware over here in GeekJ, we need to squeeze every ounce of quality out of this thing ourselves. Full specs as always in the description below. So let's start by checking out what the game gives us out of the box. I'm going to run the game over here. And again, like a disclaimer, I'm going to be recording with OBS. So this will take sometimes a little bit more than a tiny hit on our performance in general in the game. So whatever frames per second you see on my screen, just imagine a tiny bit more or a little bit more than what you see on the screen that you will get if you have a system almost identical to mine. But anyway, let's go into the settings over here, and while we are in the video settings, I will hit the key on my keyboard to reset all the settings to their default. So we're now all on the same page. As of everything else, as you can see, we are on TSR, which is the default for almost all of the Unreal Engine games. And we have no frame generation selected. My VSync is off. No frame rate limit. Sharpness is at 0% as well. This is where it defaults to. If we scroll a little bit further down, you can see that the game has auto-selected the Epic preset. And further down, I can see the motion blur setting is turned off. I don't really remember if I set this to off and it's not like affected by the reset to default, but either way I would have disabled it, to be honest. And these are the basic settings that the game offers in its video tab menu, as you can see over here, and these are the defaults. So let's go ahead and hit play. And I'm going to go into solo offline, and I'm going to use this world that I have created specifically for this video. This is the default experience, as you can see over here. Let me make my guy eat something because I don't want to have any extra effects on the screen because of the lens dirt and stuff. But yeah, as you can see, let's be honest here, the game looks bad with these default settings, and the performance isn't exactly inspiring either. And as you can see, we've loaded into the world. The only thing I've done is I've built that little hut over there, and I've added, you know, some fire or light sources. And yeah, we're trying to work with the game, but it's kind of weird. So TSR is set at 75%, which I believe is higher than the default when you fire up the game. But anyway, let's give it the benefit of the doubt, and we're using 75% on Epic settings, and we're hovering around 101 FPS. When I was testing this without recording, I was around 110 to 115 FPS at this exact spot. And yeah, that's the average. Is it playable? Sure, but it leaves a lot to be desired because the image looks rough. There is this artistic choice the developers made, a dark outline like around the character models, and it's not only for the main characters, it is around the monster models or animal models that you will find on the island and whatever, and it makes every upscaling issue 10 times more obvious, in my opinion. The ghosting is immediately apparent when I move the camera. And this is even without frame generation. I don't know if we have to acknowledge that, but usually people think ghosting is because of frame generation. No, not always, and most of the time it's caused from the temporal anti-aliasing methods that are used in a specific scenario. But yeah, even without frame generation active, there is noticeable pixel shimmering, as you can see over there in the trees in the distance, or even the closer trees over here, as you can see with a TSR. And there is instability across the whole image. So I don't know if that's going to be visible through the recording, and then, you know, it's going to be how many times re-encoded by, you know, YouTube. But hopefully if I upload this in a high enough quality, which is usually 4K, you're going to be able to see what is happening. So as you can see over here where I'm pointing the crosshairs over here, there's a lot of instability, and this is like how the game like defaults. But yeah, let's crank it up to 100% render scale and see if the image clears up. I'm gonna go escape video, and then I'm gonna crank this up to 100%, hit apply, then escape out of this. And it does look a little bit better, especially the artistic outline. I promise I'm gonna try not to rant a lot about this, but yeah, as you can see over there in the distance, we still get that instability, and the performance takes a serious hit. Like from 100 FPS, we're now at around mid 70s at best, as you can see over here. And once we start building even the most basic hat, it's gonna tank your FPS into the 50s or below, and that's not sustainable. Like, let me just run into the little hat I've made over here, and it's very basic, as you can see. Oh, already we are below 70, we're 68, 60, 65, you know, very, very unstable, and the game doesn't feel smooth. So now if I go into the settings and then video, and I enable vertical sync, it sometimes makes the game feel a little bit smoother, but it sometimes has the opposite effect, like right now. So I'm going to disable it again. I'm going to go over here into vertical sync, and then I'm going to hit apply, and hopefully this returns to a little bit better experience I had before, kind of, yeah. But yeah, as you can see, this is a very, very basic building, and once we get inside or close to it, the game, you know, doesn't respond very well to this. And this is, when I say extremely basic, this is extremely basic because, as you know, in survival games, you just scale up, not down. So the buildings are going to get bigger, and you're going to have a lot of light sources in there, and I only have 2 light sources over here and the one outside. And basically, yeah, it's not that great, not sustainable. Let me go back here to this spot where we first spawned in, and I'm going to switch to FSR and then a native. Let's see, because we do have access to FSR, and I'm gonna go with a native just to have an apples to apples comparison with the 100% render scale. And as you can see, we have similar performance, but a little bit better with FSR, and it does look better in some ways. Like we get the light shafts hitting the water over here, and it is actually not killing the reflections. But the negative side is that it's a lot more pixelated for some reason, even when we're not moving the camera, which was the opposite with TSR. When we were not moving the camera, it was looking more stable, but a little bit more of a smooth image. But once we moved the camera, there was pixelation, but now we have pixelation either way, so it's consistent, I guess. The image is a touch more stable, and let me go into the building over here and see how we fare. in FPS, 66, 63. I mean, it's similar, a little bit higher averages, I guess, than TSR. And now let's see the trees over there. We don't get that much shimmering. It's a little bit more stable. So yeah, let's drop down to quality and see how that compares. So we're gonna go over here, gonna drop down to quality, and then I'm gonna add 10% sharpness over here. Hit apply, escape. So I don't know exactly what percentage this is, but we see a performance gain similar to TSR at 75%, but not as good, I would say. Let's check the performance. I'm gonna go in our settings, video, and then we're gonna go with performance over here. Performance mode barely gives us any extra frames, and FSR 3.1.5, I believe, is what we get once we are not utilizing FSR4. Is absolutely terrible, I gotta tell you. Let's bump up the sharpness to, let's say, 25%. I'm gonna hit apply, and let's see over here. If we go close to the fires, yeah, this is looking pretty bad. A lot of pixelation, character starting to look very blurry over here. And because of that, as you can see, outline around the character, the artistic dark outline, it's getting very, very obvious that we have a lot of pixelation. The line is not as stable. It gets, you know, thicker or thinner as we move the camera. And then, as you can see over here, we have a lot of instability and a lot of ghosting when we move the camera around. And we can try this with TSR as well. And if we want to replicate what performance looks like, it would be 50%. And I'm going to keep it at 25% sharpness, so we have an apples to apples comparison. And it does look a little bit sharper and not as washed out, but the instability is crazy. And let me go back to close to our boat over here to check the performance. And basically it looks a little better, and the performance is just a smidge better on 50% render scale over here with TSR. It does look a bit clearer, but the image is very, very unstable, as you can see. Like the trees over there, a lot of weirdness going on. We do get the ghosting. There's a lot of artifacting, a lot of pixel shimmering everywhere. So yeah, not a good showing, I must say, unfortunately. Textures don't look that bad with TSR, but FSR 3.1.5 was pretty awful. And as you can see, the particles are all pixelated. It's just a very, very bad experience. I'd never choose to play in this way. Now you might be wondering, what about the built-in frame generation? And let's see, I'm gonna give this the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna go with FSR. I'm gonna do quality again and drop down to only 10% of sharpness over here. And then I'm gonna go with frame generation type FSR Frame Gen. This is the only type we have. And I'm gonna hit apply, and let's see. So yeah, we oh boy. Yep. Yeah, turning on, it does give us a bump in the FPS, but visually, oh boy, it's kind of a disaster, if I'm being honest. And I don't know if this is going to translate well into the YouTube video, but on top of all that pixelation of the whole image that we're getting and the pixelation with FSR over here, it gets significantly worse, and the game doesn't feel smooth at all when I'm playing. And yeah, the ghosting is a lot more exasperated, unfortunately. So no matter what settings we throw at this, it basically doesn't look good. So the built-in options are pretty rough across the board, unfortunately. And yeah, let's basically fix this properly. So I'm gonna go into settings, and then I'm gonna go, let's do R to reset everything, and then I'm gonna go TSR. As you can see, these are not going back to their defaults, unfortunately. And then I'm gonna go 75%, and yeah, this is where it defaults. So I'm gonna apply. Let's go over here close to the boat, which is our spawn point basically, and I'm going to exit out of the game. So normally I'd give you guys two ways to get FSR4 running, one dead simple copy paste method and one using OptiScaler-Client, which is possible in this game as well. But since the built-in frame generation in this game is so bad, I can't really recommend the simple method of copy pasting in good conscience. So we're going the OptiScaler-Client route directly today with a bonus step at the end. But first, let's update our built-in binaries. So let's fire up DLSS-Swapper, and I'm gonna have a link in the description, you know where, below. And it's as simple as running it, finding Windrose and updating the game's built-in DLSS binaries. But a little quick note though over here, when I click on it, you will notice that even though the game offers FSR in its settings, the FSR binaries don't show up here in DLSS-Swapper. So keep that in mind because we'll deal with it in a minute. So let's just update our binaries over here. DLSS, obviously, we're gonna go from 310.4, that is a version that ships in with the game, and we're gonna bump it up to 310.6. I'm gonna hit swap over here for all of these, swap, and finally swap. And I'm gonna close out of this and of DLSS-Swapper. So once we're done updating and close out of DLSS-Swapper, we're gonna move on to the main event basically. Okay, grab OptiScaler-Client if you haven't done that already from the GitHub link. All the links are going to be in the description, so don't worry about that. And we're going to run it. Now we're going to find Windrose in our library. If it's not listed here, just run a scan games again by clicking on this little button over here. And we're not going to go with quick install, we're going to go with manage. And here's what we are selecting: the latest stable version of OptiScaler, so not the beta. I'm gonna go with a 0.90 latest. And if you're on RDNA 2 or RDNA 3, we have to select the FSR 4.0.2c over here latest. So we're gonna click on that for our upscaler binary. We're gonna select the dxgi.dll as the injection method, and as for OptiPatcher, we're going to select the rolling latest version over here. You don't need to mess with any of the other settings, we're just going to click on the auto install button. As you can see, it says that it has installed successfully OptiScaler and FSR 4.0.2c as well. So we're going to exit out of this one, but we are not done yet. Remember how DLSS-Swapper couldn't find the FSR binaries? That's because Windrose is yet another game, and we're seeing this more and more lately, unfortunately, that hides the FSR binaries in a completely different location instead of the Win64 folder where the actual game executable lives. And yeah, unfortunately, I don't know why this trend is starting, but we have to deal with it. So to find them, we're gonna open up our Steam over here. And we're gonna go into library, and while we are highlighting the game, we're gonna right click over here then go to manage and browse local files. And then as you can see, we are already in the Windrose folder on our Steam. Then we're going to go into the R5 folder. Then we're going to go into plugins, then third party, then FSR, then FSR again, source, FidelityFX SDK, kits, FidelityFX, and signed bin. And you will see we have these two FSR binaries. And as you can see over here, we do have the 4.0.3 version of FSR. So yeah, basically it's buried very, very deep. Now, as I always recommend, backing up the original FSR binary by just adding the .backup to the file name. So let's just go ahead and do that before we proceed. So I'm going to go to the end over here and then just add the .backup extension over here. And now from the main Win64 folder, as you can see over here, where OptiScaler copies everything into the game, we're just gonna copy the upscaler_dx.dll file and we're gonna paste it in here in this folder. And we're basically done with the setup side of things in our Windows Explorer side. So let's fire up the game and see the results. And as you can see at the bottom left, we do have the pop-up of OptiScaler, so that means it has installed correctly. And now that we are in the main menu, I'm gonna go into settings and then the video tab directly. And here's the important part. We need to select DLSS as our upscaler. So click on that. Another quick disclaimer, because I get a lot of kind of weird comments. OptiScaler does not give you access to actual DLSS on AMD hardware, okay? What it does is it makes it possible for us to inject any upscaler we want through the DLSS binary. And that's the magical part of OptiScaler, but it does not unlock or gives us access to the actual DLSS technology. So now that we have selected DLSS, we're gonna go with quality, then we're gonna go with 10% sharpness over here. We're gonna hit apply, close the menu, and we're gonna hit play and load into our world again. So once we're loaded in, we need to press the insert key on our keyboard. And from here, we need to switch from the default XeSS to FSR3.x. So let's go on ahead and do that. I'm gonna select the FSR3.x. We're gonna hit the change upscaler button over here. So yeah, give it a few seconds. It needs a moment to basically inject the new upscaler. So don't kill the process, just wait in case you think this is taking a very long time, because the first time you do this, it might take, let's say 30 seconds or something similar to that. Now make sure from the FFX settings over here that you are on FSR 4.0.2c, and if it's on a different version, just select the 4.0.2c and then hit the change upscaler button over here. So this has happened to some other systems I tested this on with similar setups. Everything was AMD, GPU, CPU, everything, but they had some weirdness. So if you get weirdness like flashing white screen, or your screen kind of has a purple or magenta tint on the whole screen, tick this option over here that says non-linear sRGB input, and then your issue is going to be resolved. Now we need to untick the use FSR input values over here, and we're gonna click on save INI and then close. And we're basically good to go. This is FSR4. As you can see, we do get 90 something FPS over here. It does look fantastic compared to the built-in TSR and the FSR 3.1.5 that the game ships with, especially if you're on RDNA 2 and RDNA 3. You have no other option officially. And even the XeSS offering looked very, very blurry, unfortunately. But now with FSR4, we get a very clean image. It is a lot more stable, as you can see over here, and we get no shimmering. And the FPS are looking solid. And yeah, let's head into our little hut over here. But before we do that, look at the particles over here. They look amazing compared to everything else. But yeah, let's go in here. As you can see, we are on the high 80s, where before we were struggling a lot more with both TSR and FSR, and we're dropping to the 60s around here. So yeah, and just to show you the power of FSR4, let's quickly switch to performance mode, and we're gonna bump it up to 25% sharpness just to have an apples to apples comparison with what we tested this before. We're gonna go performance. Just make sure you wait, because it does take quite a while to switch between those modes, especially the first time after you've installed OptiScaler and all that jazz. So close out of the menu. And as you can see, we are upscaling from 960 by 540 to 1080p. And this is how amazing the game looks. Can you believe that? This is performance mode on FSR4. This is kind of insane. So we get no shimmering, as you can see over there. The artistic outline stays pretty much consistent, even if we move the camera over here. So that's a huge plus. But yeah, no shimmering, no artifacting, no ghosting. Obviously, there is some visual, let's say, degradation on distant objects. But for performance mode, this is night and day from the default built-in options. Like, look at this. The textures seem a little bit more fuzzy, but just a tiny smidge. And as you can see, the trees over there are super stable. And I don't see any instability whatsoever, even though we are upscaling from 540p to 1080p. So that's kind of insane. Now for the real cherry on top, let's switch back to quality real quick and 10% sharpness over here. So I'm gonna go with quality. And this happened a lot quicker, as you can see over here, and then 10% sharpness. Okay, and let's hit insert one more time over here to get the OptiScaler overlay pop up. And here we're going to set frame generation to DLSS via streamline, as you can see over here. And then for the frame generation output, we're going to select the XeFG, because FSR frame generation isn't playing nice with this particular game so far. So XeFG is the way to go here in Windrose, as of this version, of course. So we're gonna save INI and close. And we need to restart our game. So I'm gonna exit out to main menu and then quit the game completely. Then we're gonna fire up the game again. And once we're back in the main menu, we're gonna go back into the settings and then the video tab. And we are going to select the DLSS Frame Gen, which is now available to us. And we're gonna hit apply and leave it as is. So frame generation auto, sharpness 10% reflex enabled, and we will not touch any of the other settings. Then we're gonna hit insert once again, and we're gonna take the active and the async options. As you can see over here, let me move this up a tiny bit. If you see async, you can enable it. Usually for me on XeFG it is not available. Then we're gonna set our FPS limit. You can use the automatic method, or you can manually set it to whatever you think is best for your monitor. My monitor is a 165 Hertz monitor, so I'm gonna apply a limit of 162, so it's 3 Hertz basically, or frames per second lower than the max this monitor can produce. So I'm going to hit apply limit, save INI. As you can see, OptiScaler is instructing us to restart the game to apply the correct XeFG settings one more time. So we're going to save INI, close, and quit out of the game one last time. So now if we hit the insert key, you can see that everything is working as it should. Over here, we do have FSR4.0.2c. We do have frame generation active. It is saying that the current streamline frame generation state is on with green font over here. The FSR input values are disabled, and we have applied the limit of 162. 3 frames lower than the max refresh rate of your monitor is recommended, or you can just go with the automatic calculator over here. We're going to save INI and close, and then hit play and load into our world over here. Okay, we're loaded in. We're at the ship spot over here, and as you can see, we are at 148 FPS, and the game feels dead smooth over here. A very, very nice and smooth experience. And as you can see, we are on quality mode because this is upscaling from 720p to 1080p, and we do have frame generation on, and we're hovering around 150 frames per second. So yeah, the game looks amazing. Zero ghosting issues, and the performance is exactly where we want it to be. So this is Windrose the way it should be played, in my opinion. Let me go into the house over here. As you can see, we are pretty stable. We have zero ghosting, and in comparison to the FSR frame generation, this is far better, and it feels a lot smoother. This is buttery smooth. Yeah, let's go into our little hut over here, and yeah, very, very good experience. No stuttering, no nothing, dead smooth. So yeah, guys, if this helped you transform Windrose from a blurry mess into a gorgeous, smooth experience, smash that like button and subscribe. Hit that bell so you never miss a GeekJ video. If you want to take it further, consider joining the GeekJ squad for early access and exclusive perks, or drop a super thanks if you're feeling generous. Massive shout out, as always, to my channel architects, ParisSTR and Kostas Dari. You are always and forever remain legends. And yeah, drop your results in the comments below. What FPS are you getting with FSR4 in Windrose? And remember, I read every single one of your comments, and I'm gonna see you in the next one, guys. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.